Welcome back, Alpha Hunters. The markets are closed for the week of October the 27th, the last closing week for October. We are now going to move to November next week. We will have Monday and Tuesday trading in October, and then after that, it will be November. And then also next week, don't forget, we will have Fed FOMC on Wednesday, so you'll probably see some volatility, probably even some optimism going into Wednesday's Fed day. But let's get started on what went on this week because, woo boy, we saw some breakdowns. Monday, nice gap down, traded higher, and then we kind of rolled over going into the close. So nice little upper wick. We actually ended negative that day, but the bulls did come out. After that first 15 minutes, the bulls actually did come out pretty good in that first half of the day, but they just couldn't sustain it. It kind of rolled over there towards the end of the day. That was kind of something I was really looking for. Tuesday, we then gapped up, traded, took out Monday's high, and then about right there at that high of the day, I went ahead and picked up a bearish position, and it worked out. It's so far it's working out great. It's going to expire this next Tuesday. So, yep, working out pretty good, and we just kind of rolled over, and then we went a little bit bullish there for the second half of the day. Ended kind of towards the daily highs there on Tuesday, and that was when we went into Microsoft and Alphabet earnings, gap down, traded down, tried to retest, basically bounced right off that 4,200 on the SPX level, traded down, broke through it, just went sideways there for the last couple of hours. So that was a very important closure on Wednesday, getting below 4,200 and SPY 420 and closing both below those levels. Thursday, well, another little gap down. Meta, well, they had a little bit of a gap down and flush out Thursday as they had earnings Wednesday after the bell. But we just kind of broke down a little bit, nice little retest, and then just rolled over that first half of the day. Second half of the day, tried to stage a little bit of a rally, and then the last hour just kind of came back down. Roughly, not quite down to the daily lows, but got down into that area. Friday, nice little gap up, traded down, nice little retest higher. Broke down, went sideways, and a lot of what was going on really good. What was really holding up the Qs so well in big tech on Friday was Amazon after the bell on Thursday had earnings. They annihilated their earnings. But that's kind of how the week went. It was a major breakdown week. Kind of was expecting that last week, right? And even on Monday, you know, when we got this gap down and we were already mixing in with this SPX 4200 level, under that SPY 420 level, I kind of was thinking, okay, we'll probably get this retest, and you know, we got that on Monday, and I just kind of waited for Tuesday. Sure enough, we came up, broke that Monday high, and then I was like, you know what, I think that probably would be it. And yeah, it pretty much was. So another thing you probably noticed on the channel is I'm gonna probably start putting out like midweek, just kind of brief overview of what's going on in the trading day. Whenever I get on the live stream, I usually spend about 10 to 20 minutes just kind of summarizing what's going on in the trading day. So I'll be probably just cutting those out from the live stream and putting those into a video. So if you need to get a little caught up on anything on the markets and stuff like that, I'll be putting that out there now. I know I've had a couple people ask for that, so there you go. I'll be putting that out there, and any kind of trades that we find, I'll also probably be putting that out there as well. So I've been doing that, was doing that some this past week. The VIX. Okay, the VIX was very important this week. Okay, Monday we had a gap down. But we traded higher, right? It got bought up. The VIX had a spike on Monday, a little bit of a quick pop there on Monday, and then came back down. And you notice it did not take out that Monday high, even though we were breaking down Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We did not get back up to that high. People are not panicking yet, not even close to yet, on the breakdown that we were seeing in the second half of this week on the market, on the SPY. So that's a big deal. That basically, if you were trying to be bearish, this is what you want to see. You don't want to see people flipping out when you're down like 2 points, but then when you move down 10 points, you don't see people flipping out. That just kind of tells you, nobody's panicking about being down 10 points. It's not a big deal. All right. So to me, it just kind of says I could see further room to the downside, to the bearish side here on the market, just because people don't seem to care. US dollar, DXY dollar index here. Nice little drop to start the week on Monday. I kind of mentioned that last week. Watch out if we do kind of break this low. There's not much after we break this low back from October 12th. So you're going to have the 50 below it. So I was kind of saying, hey, put a stop loss right below the low of last Thursday. And if it breaks down, you're probably just going to snag it once it maybe breaks this low or gets down to the 50 EMA. And that basically perfectly worked out on Monday. Tuesday broke down Monday, came down Tuesday, got close to that EMA, bounced, and made a new high on Thursday. Well, not a new high, but weekly high there on Thursday. Nice little wick. Kind of hangout day there on Friday. Kind of an indecision. Checked in with the 10 EMA. To me, over the past couple of weeks, looks like just consolidation. Just looks like consolidation. Looks like it's going to push higher. And that's probably just what I would expect, which if the DXY pushes higher, it's going to be kind of tough for the market to go higher as well. Probably just put pressure on it to go in the bearish direction. GLD and the Gold Trust. Well, for most of the week, it didn't really do a whole lot. Monday, just kind of resting. Monday, Tuesday, even Wednesday, Thursday. But Friday, man, I mean, a huge extension. And much of the move on Friday, you can go look at the intraday, was the dollar was rallying off the lows on the Friday session, and gold was rallying at the same time. And they were both rallying very, very strong together. It was really kind of weird. You don't typically see that when, dollar's typically rallying hard, gold's probably just at least dropping or bearish or maybe not rallying, but they were both rallying together. It's kind of funny. So anyways, looks like gold probably just going higher. And I know a lot of this probably has a lot to do with, the whole Middle East turmoil stuff going on. So a lot of people are kind of flying to safety right now with gold, GLD. This next week, I will be watching dollar because it seems like it's been setting up consolidation. I will also be watching 10-year yield because this also looks like it's consolidating, and it's consolidating basically just under that 5% level, right? Just under that 5% level. It hit that 5%, just over 5% to start off the week on Monday. Very quick, got up over 5%. So you probably saw some headlines about that. Quick pullback into the 10 EMA by Tuesday. It hit it off at Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Wednesday, nice bounce, and Thursday it came back down. So it's just sitting right on that 10 EMA. And what's kind of interesting here is if it just kind of consolidates sideways. So if we don't break down initially, probably early this next week, I'm just going to think it's probably just going to consolidate sideways here, and be curious to see how long it does consolidate sideways before it breaks 5% and pushes higher. Because once it breaks 5%, like people are going to flip out. So I would be definitely watching this. If it's not just rolling over and coming back down, I would be very cautious. But the other thing I'll hit on a little bit later is the market was extremely bearish this week, and we didn't really push up on yields. 10 and 2 yield curve inversion, very nice strong move last week. This week, first part of the week, Monday, Tuesday, nice pullback, came all the way down to this high that we had earlier in October, into that 10 EMA coming up, and bounced off of it. Bounced very good. Looks like it's probably going to continue to push higher, although be curious to see kind of what this looks like next week. So don't really know. I mean, I don't know how that would be. Is the 2-year going to be falling? Is the 10-year going to be breaking out? That's kind of tough because the 2-year obviously is still kind of consolidating as well. 10-year is starting to get into its consolidation area. So yeah, it's kind of a weird dynamic here on how and what is going to drive this yield curve inversion to get back to the normal range. All right, taking a look here at sector rotation for the week. And energies was the biggest underperformer. XLC also hugely underperforming. That mostly had to do with Alphabet and Meta, both, dropping on their earnings. So there you go, XLC. But it's kind of surprising that they're not even the lowest, or yeah, the lowest performing sector for the week, even though those two big dogs actually dropped pretty good. You can see the XLC actually going into Tuesday, start of the day on Tuesday, was actually the best performing sector. So that kind of just tells you what went on there Wednesday, Thursday with Alphabet and Meta earnings. Healthcare also underperforming. Everything else was outperforming for the week. Financials, industrials, tech, discretionaries, real estate, staples, materials, and utilities. The best performing sector for the week, actually positive for the week. Taking a look here at week over week options change, and yeah, quite a bit of puts getting bought for this next Friday. A lot of people starting to, seeing the breakdown, trying to hop in bearish. And obviously out here in December, quite a bit of puts being bought. December 15th. What was really interesting is all the puts being sold for the monthlies of November. November 17th. Look at the monthlies getting sold. Wow. And quite a bit of monthlies also getting bought there on the call side. So puts getting sold, calls getting bought there for November 17th. Very interesting. All right, taking a look here at the RSP. We'll run through some of these ETFs real quick. We definitely have, we're just in kind of no man's land here on the RSP. That's what's kind of a tough spot. We got through these levels, these lows here this week, especially this one back from March this week. So yeah, there's not much of a spot to really bounce. We got some lows back from last summer, year and a quarter ago, basically last June of 2022. So got a little bit further room to go here on the RSP, maybe another 2% lower, unless we come down to this low, and that'd be 4.5% or so lower, or maybe even down to this one day where we dropped pretty good, 6.5% lower. So kind of an interesting spot here. I could definitely see us dropping some, but I think you're probably looking to be more bullish on any kind of bearishness, especially 2% or more bearishness here on the RSP, especially here on the short term. If we set up, over the next couple of weeks or a couple months, and it starts to set up bearish, then maybe we see some more bearishness. But I'd say here for the next 2%, probably don't touch it. Once we get about 2% lower here on the RSP, for the next 4% after that, you're probably just going to be trying to buy it up. The DIA, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, well, after that retest last week up into this very important 340 line, well, it has definitely fallen off. Fell off pretty good this week. Definitely broke this May low. Wow, that's brutal. Next spot's going to be here, down at the lows here. So about another 2% lower. If it breaks that, yeah, you're probably just looking to come down to last June or maybe even September lows of 22. So yeah, you're gonna have a pretty good way to go there, which could be another 7 to 11% lower. So yeah, you're definitely gonna want to maybe respect this level. If it gets down to here early this next week, which honestly it probably should, maybe Monday, Tuesday, maybe even Monday, drop off, and I would highly expect the market to probably drop off on Monday, as we've had huge breakdowns. We closed on the lows kind of for the week. I would expect us to probably move down into these lows, maybe 319, look for the buy up on the short term, and then maybe look for the rollover. Possibly a retest up into the 325, 326 type range. That's where this low, that's where these lows are. Makes some sense to me. IW, drop it off the face of the cliff, M. Oh man. So I have definitely been saying these lows from 2022 were very important. Well, the thing is we actually broke those lows on Friday. I still think it's a great buy opportunity, mostly because, well, you have a very solid support level right here, 160. That was just below those two levels. That was kind of one of the reasons why I was saying, hey, you know what? If we get down to those lows of 2022, you just kind of want to be bullish, mostly because the downside to this support level is not even that far, right? I mean, you have all these times back in 2019 where we just kind of hit that top and just, we had a hard time breaking through. It was breaking through right before we got to COVID. Then COVID obviously wrecked everything. But I mean, I would just be bullish on the IWM, especially since it's breaking that down. Most of this week, we were seeing very strong rotation. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, very strong rotation where the Qs were getting hit and the IWM was actually performing very well. It wasn't until Friday when, we kind of had a little bit of the IWM drop off as hard as it did, especially compared to the Qs because of Amazon, that we saw their performance kind of come a little bit more in line. So if I take a look at the weekly performance here, so the IWM is down 2.5% on the week, and the Qs were down 2.6%, right? And that's when the IWM actually had, a negative 1.5 alpha just on, compared to the Qs, on Friday. So that just kind of tells you what was really going on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then Friday, I mean, all of it was just kind of undone on one day, because I don't know why the IWM was down as hard as it was. Really don't. But I think it's a great opportunity, in my opinion. I don't think tech is the opportunity. But speaking of that tech stuff, take a look here at the Qs. Very solid breakdown. These lows, we've had lower highs coming in now for the past 2.5, 3 months. Lower lows as well. Obviously, clearly breaking down. We got kind of some trending lows here, kind of connected in, obviously broke that trend. So now we're definitely into an accelerated drop-off kind of spot here. So it would just be interesting. There's not really much structure. I can even zoom out here. There's not much structure for any kind of major pivot levels where we are. We have a little bit of a pivot level kind of where we are now. Maybe that's why we stopped right here for a day. But I would imagine we probably just keep coming down. Got a little bit of a high right here around 338 from back in May. But I'd imagine we probably just keep coming down to at least this 335 spot where we had a pretty major pivot level back in August of 2022. And then probably start to look for the first real bounce from there. But the other thing I'll say is, hey, it's kind of hard to say that we're going to drop off another 3% from here. And I get that it's, I mean, we got kind of destroyed this week, but I mean, it can happen. It can happen. Maybe we go bearish Monday and we drop off more on Tuesday, and then we go bullish the second half of the day on Tuesday into Wednesday before Fed FOMC day on Wednesday. I mean, I don't know. It just could be interesting. But I know one thing: if we consolidate here before we get to this level, then we will have probably start to develop the pressure to push us through that 330 level, and then we're talking about some another big air pocket in here. Now there's kind of some different levels in here, like 312, 313 were this high. We had a high right here. We also had a support level right here, obviously clearly bounced in that kind of general area. So 312 obviously going to be another important one. You're going to also have some all the way down here around 300 and 295. So there will be some pretty big air pockets if we got through the 330 area. So be interesting to see kind of how that goes into this next week and maybe even the next 2 weeks. Really going to be watching some things on the market because it's really going to depend on the areas on where you're going to want to be bearish or maybe even possibly buying the dip. Taking a look at the SPY. Well, outside of that last 15 minutes, I mean, we were down at the lower end of this wick, and it's kind of funny. We were getting really kind of down to this support level right here, around 408.50. Really interesting that we've gotten down to that level that quick after we kind of just broke through that 4,200. I mean, that's kind of the way it goes. When you get into these air pockets, I mean, they're going to go to the next spot, especially in bearish markets. In bullish markets, they take a little bit more of a grindy time to get through and to go to the next level. But bearish markets, I mean, they go quick. So I honestly, this next week is going to be very interesting. I don't really know. I could definitely see Monday coming out being bearish. I don't know how much we would actually end bearish on Monday, just because I think people are going to look towards the Fed and be optimistic going into Wednesday. So I would imagine we're bullish maybe second half of the day on Monday, Tuesday, maybe first half of the day on Wednesday. But if we end kind of on the lows, session lows, maybe we trade, I don't know, maybe 0.5% lower. Maybe we trade a little bit lower on Tuesday and then we start to bounce, especially going into Wednesday. And then if we get to around 4:15 or so by Fed time on Wednesday, I would watch out for a very quick retest up into this 4,200, 420, 418 type of area on the market, because if that happens, that's going to be a very snappy retest. And then if we start pushing lower then Thursday, Friday, that's big time. And we're going to have FOMC. We're also going to have Apple earnings Thursday after the bell. And it's not like they were stellar this past, last earnings cycle. So be very interesting to see kind of what goes on here this next week. I do expect us to come out and be bearish probably Monday, especially the first half of the day on Monday, maybe not the second half of the day. So it's kind of the way I'm looking at it. We'll see how things probably start to set up in the middle part of next week. And if everything is very snappy and very quick, maybe we just fall off here towards the second half of next week going into the week after. So be very interesting to see how that kind of develops. Alpha Hunters, have a great weekend. Take care. I'm going to go have fun. Grandparents having their 70th wedding anniversary. So very cool. We're going to have a big party. They're probably going to be in bed by 4. So have a great weekend. Take care, Alpha Hunters.